Absolutely nothing beats windshield time. Welcome back to Dan the Road Trip Guy, a podcast where we have candid conversations about life lessons learned on the road. I'm your host, Bimmer enthusiast and road trip extraordinaire, Dan Neal. And now, on to the show. So today on my show, I have Bob Knoerzer. Bob and I met, like a few people I've had on the show, on One Lap of America several years ago. And Bob's down in Florida. I'm here in Cincinnati, so we're going to take a virtual drive. It's going to give me an opportunity to learn more about Bob, because typically I only see Bob when he's leaving the pits on One Lap of America, and he goes out on the track, and then we catch up a little bit later. But oddly, we were just talking, and he's went to high school in Amelia here in Cincinnati, near Cincinnati, and then went to Miami on a basketball scholarship. So I'm just excited to talk to him, spend a little time with him here today. So welcome to the show, Bob.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, same here. So I'd like to kick it off, and this will be easy for you. We've got a couple minutes to do a warm-up lap. You can pick your favorite track, and just who is Bob Knoerzer?
Oh, man. Just a eclectic person, I guess, all over the place, man. I've always been one of those guys that just takes it to the full extreme all the time. I can never be the 50% guy. It's either 0 or 100%. I think that's a great thing in business. It's a crappy thing in other avenues, but 0 to 100%, that's kind of where I'm at. And I flip-flop. It's Derek, my co-driver, at One Lap. He calls me pancake sometimes because I flip one side or the other. Yeah, it really depends on what we're doing.
It's all right. Yeah. Speaking of business, I never knew what you did.
Yeah, so I own a computer IT company. We have an ethical hacking group that we actually hack people for a living, and then we manage and monitor networks all over the world.
Okay.
So it's pretty fun stuff. Not what you see in the movies, though.
Yeah, not what you see in the movies, for sure. Hey, take me back. First car you ever owned?
1971 Ford Pinto was my first car with snow tires with the studs on it. We got it for $500, and the passenger seat, the locking mechanism didn't lock, so it would just slide on the rails. So it's kind of hilarious when you had a girl in the car on the first date, and you take her to a stop sign and hit the brakes, and she'd slide forward.
Yeah,
that was always fun. Yeah.
Cloth or leather seats?
Cloth. Yeah. Couldn't afford leather. Come on.
For $500.
We lived on a farm, man. I raised horses and shoveled horse shit all day.
Yeah. You lived out in Amelia, just east of Cincinnati.
Yep, off 125. Yeah, we were on State Route 125. There's a fireworks, store down. There's used to be, I think, a Harley Davidson shop. They built after the farm, but yeah, we lived right there.
Yeah,
on that hill.
Yeah, I usually ask people, particularly people a little bit older than my young guest. Oh, and you hung on to that car. I'm assuming you didn't keep the Pinto.
I wanted it so bad, but times were tough, so I had to let it go.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Did you take road trips growing up? Did you take road trips later? Tell me about a road trip you took.
I'll be honest with you. I think I was not into cars at all. I mean, when I was growing up, I was not introduced to them. I didn't have any friends that were really into them. I was away from the car scene. And it was, honestly, I saw a brochure, gosh, I'm just a few years ago to me, but it was like 2010, 11, 12. I think I want to say 2010 or 11. I saw a Nissan GTR brochure. And so there was one here locally at DeLand Nissan, and went in there and negotiated for it. They didn't negotiate at all because it was in such a need back then, or a want, I should say. And then I got hooked up with a guy named, Lee Keene is the one that really helped me. But yeah, Derek and Lee are my two guys that kind of brought me into the car scene and just, introduced me to, racing on, the tracks. And I never did any of that. I autocrossed with the GTR, won that day. And then I said, hey, a friend of mine says, hey, you go on Daytona, start driving Daytona. So I did that. And then it just, oh my gosh. And here we go. We're going to be a professional race car driver.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I started doing. And then I bought 5 GTRs since then and modded every single one of them. The current one is just under 1,300 horsepower. So, that's what we've been. It's my baby.
Yeah, and you've so any like big epic road trips that stand out in your mind other than one lap?
My favorite road trip that we did, I hate to say it, but was during one lap, and it was when we did the run to Oklahoma. It was Derek and I's first time. We were in the 2010 GTR, and it was just one of those just memorable moments of just laughs and fun and speed and just everything. Just that one leg was probably the funnest trip that I've really been on. Just with just that one road trip. Now I've driven all over the United States, and I was in the military. So my wife was a flight attendant, so she was in training, and I was driving, to see her and stuff before we were able to do those passes and all that stuff back in those days. But I used to drive from Williston, Florida to Sierra Vista, Arizona. So I've been all over the country just driving. In Europe, I drove. So I just seems like sometimes I've been driving my whole life, but I truly enjoy driving. The problem is I just have a lead foot. That's all. Like all of us, I think.
Yeah, you've passed me a few times on one lap. So. Brock will be like, don't keep up with him. So
yeah, we're a little crazy sometimes. Yeah. So
how many one laps have you done?
I think six or seven. I think we did a stint. I think 6 in a row, and I took a hiatus, and then came back last year. And then, so 7, I think. I'm pretty sure it's been 7 now. I love it. It's great, guys. It's just everybody's great. It's a one lap family. It's crazy how, I know Deb at the bar in Indiana. It's just like, gosh, it just feels like sometimes you're just going home, you just pick up where you left off. It's so awesome.
Yeah, no, it's funny. And I've been riding around with Brock since 2006, which is just crazy in my mind.
Wow.
When I think about it. But, yeah, it's like every year it's like, I've got so much work to do. I need to stay home. And my wife will be like, no, you should go. So I don't know.
It's funny because I never told you this, but every time I think got connected is we do a fist bump every time I would go out for my out lap.
Yep.
And so my first time ever out there, we were in a cage. I don't even know what it was called. Somewhere as our very first event. It was me and Todd Trefford. He was in his white GTR and I was in the silver GTR. And you fist bumped me. I don't know how it started. And it was like because I was terrified. I've never been in a track before, like that. So,
yeah.
And that was it. I was like, okay, now it's superstitious. I got to find you to fist bump you. And you're my good luck charm. Yeah. You're my little rabbit foot, if you will. Yeah. And that's just how it was. We've always fist bumped. So I appreciate you always being there for me.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That was fun. Well, you talked about, I was going to ask you how you got into racing. I just assumed you've been racing most of your life because you were pretty quick and always up there near the front. So,
yeah, I podiumed one year. I got third. And then I think my biggest letdown was I was winning. I think it was maybe 14, 15 or 16, one of those years. And we were winning everything. And Catesby was running up with us, and he's a great driver for sure. He's better than me, obviously. And he's been racing so much longer, and he's super fast. But I was actually just everything. I think he was having some car problems or something. Intercooler pipe popped off, and I was just lucky enough to get him. But we went to Sebring, and I was killing it. And then I had a code that was thrown on my car. So of course I don't know anything about the cars, so I slowed down and I got off the track. And Derek came running up and was like, it's a miscellaneous code. We don't even need it. Well, I didn't finish. So I dropped from first to, I think I went all the way down to like 12th or something, or 20th or so. I don't know. We just dropped so far.
Yeah.
And so I called Lee Keene, and because we were at my house, we were at Sebring, right? So I'm out of Orlando, Florida. So I said, I'm not going to go drive the rest of this. Is ridiculous. And Lee's like, that's not the one lap spirit. Get your butt in the car and go back out there. So we did, and we ended up finishing 4th.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was happy with that. We came back even at DNF and still beat Steve Loudon. Yeah, so that was a good day.
Yeah. And
I love Steve. He's a good dude.
Finishing in the top 10 of one lap, that's quite an accomplishment. People don't realize what goes on there. So,
yeah.
Hey, I always see you. Well, I don't get on social media a lot anymore sometimes, but I used to see you fishing a lot. So you're a fisherman also?
Yeah. So just a few years ago, my son got into fishing, And we were on vacation in Wisconsin, and he was like, "Hey, let's go fishing." I said, "Great, I'll get some night crawlers and some bobbers." And he was like, "No, Dad, with plastic worms." I was like, "Son, no one fishes with plastic worms. It's silly." So, which I was totally wrong. And so he got me involved with the Seminole Junior Anglers down here in Florida. And they're like, "Hey, you need a boat." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is kind of crazy, getting expensive." So we get a boat. And then he started fishing tournaments. And they were like, "Hey, there's a local Christian club here that I joined." And then I joined a local bass club too. So I was in both of those and I was fishing them. So then all of a sudden it just, once again, 0 to 100%, right? So they have professional tournaments. So I signed up and started playing with the professionals. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years now. So it's fishing professionally on a small scale. So I guess it'd be like, B league, if you will.
Okay.
I'm not up where those guys are on TV, but yeah, I enjoy it. It's one of those things that something about that sun coming up and, talking to God when no one else is around. It's just one of those peaceful time of moments. And, I love it. So
yeah. Do you fish mostly in Florida?
Yeah, well, we go out of state, so we'll go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama. So we're going to Alabama. Matter of fact, I'm going to Okeechobee in a week, and then I think next month I'll be in Alabama. So we kind of go and you can win some money, that's for sure. In car racing, you're always throwing out money. You're not really winning it. So in this event, you can actually win. Some events are 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, depending on what what tournament you're in. So
that's cool. And how's your son doing?
Yeah. He quit. He's in the girls and cars.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
so he left me with the boat and everything else. That's why I said it's crazy. It's the total opposite. So he got into it and left, and I got hooked on it. So
yeah. Well, good for you. It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's good. It's all right. We'll go out every once in a while. And he's got a knack for it. He just doesn't have the love for it. So he'll just go out and fish and catch some and be like, "All right, I'm gonna take a nap."
Yeah.
So.
You said, you told me earlier, and I didn't know this, you played basketball at Miami here?
Yeah, well, Miami of Ohio, Middletown, they have a Middletown campus, so I played there. And I played in Amelia High School, but I only started in 10th grade. So, and I think you could sum up my whole 10th grade season in like 6 seconds. That's all I played. So very quick. And then I fell in love with it. So my coach that I had, Coach Brewer back in the day, and John Click, who was an instrumental man in my life when I was in high school, kind of helped shape me, along with my stepdad, Elmer Dunaway. Those two men really kind of, forged me a little bit. And so I just loved it. And I was blessed with a little bit of height. I was about 6'4.25". I think we tried to do a half. But yeah, I just played and loved it. And I played in the military when I joined the military. So, I've always enjoyed it. So it's a good game.
Yeah. Did you go to the military out of college?
Yeah, I dropped out of college after my first year. I'm not a very studious person, I'll be honest with you. College just wasn't for me, I'll be honest with you. I don't like being told what to do, so I decided to join the military.
Yeah,
so,
they didn't tell you what to do in the military.
Right? They never really tell me. They were like, "What would you like to do?" No. So yeah, I went in. I was field artillery, so I used to blow stuff up for a living. That was fun.
Oh wow!
And so I did 8 years in the military, and then came out and did IT and computer stuff and telecommunications and for companies back then.
Yeah. Did you get those skills in the military, or?
I actually got my hacking skills from when I got hacked back in 98, 99, something like that. Okay. And I just was like, "What is going on? How does this work? What's this?" And then just kind of just spurred it. And it's a lot easier to hack back in those days than I think it is today. But, that just progressed to taking care of a customer's network. A doctor had a problem. He called me. We were playing golf. And, he called me and said, "Come over. I got some problems." So I fixed his problems. And he's like, "Okay, now you take care of it." I go, "Oh, I don't take care of it every month." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll pay you every month." And I was like, "Oh, hey, wait, time out. This is, not a businessman." I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm a businessman now." So
yeah, good for you.
And that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have employees, or are you sole practitioner?
Yep. No, I have employees. I've been very blessed with my staff. I got the greatest staff in Central Florida. I really do. So they've been with me a long time. I know there's a lot of transition in today's world and stuff, but I've got 13-year veterans with me. So I love it. They're a family to me. So they're really good.
When did you start the company?
I started in 2000 or 99, 2000. So it's been 23 years now. So yeah.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, February we celebrated 23 years. So
do you focus mostly in the Florida region, or are you nationwide, or?
Yeah, Central Florida mainly, but we are nationwide. We have clients, we have the other, main network here, and then they'll have a branch office or something like that overseas possibly or whatever, and we, monitor and manage those as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you focus on a particular size business, large Fortune
Yeah, we
companies or
range.
small?
Yeah, no, we're SMB, and so we're like anywhere between that, 20 and 200 type of office. That's kind of what we, take care of and manage and stuff. And then we've done Department of Defense contracts and stuff like that, government contracts, county, state kind of stuff before. So, we can kind of handle anything depending on the scope that we need to do. IT is so big and so small at the same time. It really depends on what the needs of the client are. And in today's age, it's all changing. Like everything's changing, cloud and it used to be on-prem and now it's all going cloud and people remote. Obviously with COVID, everybody needed to work remote. And now people are like, hey, I don't want to go back to the office. I want to sit here and chill at the house and get work done. And some companies can do that and some cannot. You can't do it if you're at a Ford Motor Company plant and making something, with a press, or a CNC machine. You're going to have to go to the office and do that kind of stuff. So, but there are positions that you can work remotely for sure and securely as well.
Yeah, well, that's great. I didn't know that about you, so good to know.
Yeah, that's my quiet life, I call it.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, here's a question for you. If you could take a road trip with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be? Where would you might go? And even what would you drive? What would you talk about?
I got to tell you, I don't want to get all teary eyed on you on the show because that's not me, but I would do it with my stepdad again, just go down the road with sawdust in the back of he had a 76 Chevy and, we'd have the big 2x4s with the plywood on the side that would keep all the sawdust in. And, and he'd stop and get a 16-ounce Miller Lite, back in the day. And I wouldn't drink. I was too young back then, but just, that was, I just grew up. I just would wish I could talk to him and just ask him questions, So my family is very small. I don't have a very big family. You can count my family on one hand. He came from 11 brothers and sisters. So he had so much knowledge, so, and he was, like I said, he was a cop for 30 plus years in Cincinnati. He was a Cincinnati cop. And then he was, the president of the lodge number 69 there in Cincinnati. And it was a great dude. So that's what I would do. And just go talk about anything, man. I talk about my kids and how life turned out and, all that stuff that it's funny because, I just remember when I was younger, things that I thought were important as you get older are not as important anymore. And that's the thing I take from him that I remember being, 10 foot tall and bulletproof back then, just going, you don't know what I'm going through, high school and blah, blah. And he just would laugh. He said, you'll see when you get older. And now that I'm older, I'm like, dang it, he was right again,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's amazing how that happens. And, I shared with you before the show started kind of why I did this podcast. And, it was like after my parents died, it was like, I told you I had 101 unanswered questions. And people are like, wow, 101. Do you really have 101? Like, no, there's just always one more that I failed to ask. And you kind of alluded to that with him. And I just encourage people to ask questions if you got family. My wife came from her mom and dad had 13 on one side and 11 on the other. And
wow.
I didn't come from a large family like that. And it was just so cool. And I sat with her dad. He just died 2 years ago. But I just started turning on my phone and letting it record.
Oh, that's
just sit there and tell these stories. And it was just great. So,
that's probably gold to your wife, just to have his voice,
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
Yeah. Me too. I did a cross country trip with my dad once, and it was pre cell phones, didn't think about turning on the micro cassette recorder. But my dad was a owner operator of a big truck. So all he did was tell stories. And I was like, man, I wish I had these stories. But anyway, I appreciate that. That's great. You've done a lot, obviously, been a lot of places, been on racetracks, you're fishing and played basketball. Anything on your bucket list that you just want to do before the end?
Oh, wow. There's so much I want to do, man. I don't know. You name it. It's just been, obviously I'm going to do one lap again sometime. Just got to figure out that piece of it. I would love to drive. It's so funny. I was stationed in Germany for 6 years while I was in the military. Didn't know nothing about cars. Didn't even know Nürburgring existed. How sad is that?
That's
And
pretty sad.
And I actually drove on the road, but just didn't even know it because, back then I was a Humvee driver for smoke. And it just cracks me up because I was right there. So I want to take my wife back over there because that's where, I asked her to marry me in the Baden forest. Yeah. So I just pulled over. I thought she thought too, something was going to happen. So I just pulled over in the forest. Had no money, had no ring, had nothing. So 27 years later, we're still together. So she married up. She knows that. She married up. So
yeah. Where were you stationed?
I was in Baumholder.
Okay.
So I was in Baumholder and then Stuttgart and Garmisch. So I was in those 3 locations because I kind of went back TDY and stuff like that. So good times, good people, just huge learning experience. So loved every minute. Missed the guys for sure on the firing line with the field artillery and going out to the field, and don't miss the field, I can tell you that. But yeah, it was a Desert Storm, Desert Shield time frame. So 90s,
wow. Okay.
So. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. My brother was in Nuremberg.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. I visited him my last year of high school. I graduated. I'd worked in the family grocery store, and I'm like, I am not working this summer. I'm going to go visit my brother. And I actually spent the summer with him in Nuremberg. So
how awesome was that?
Yeah. I was like, yeah. I don't think I realized
culture shock.
I don't think I realized it at the time what a opportunity it was, and now look back on it and look at some photographs and talk with
Have you been back since?
No. My wife does all the traveling. People will be like, oh, where are you going now? And I'm like, I'm not going, I'm working. And Linda, she's traveling, which is just fine with me. She just loves to go.
Yeah, my wife was a flight attendant for Southwest American and Delta, so she's a travel, it's just in her blood. She just says, she can't sit idle for long, so yeah, she's got to get up and get going or go somewhere, do something. So, and sometimes I'm just like, go with your girlfriend. I'm tired I've traveled all over. I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just like, go.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, well, this has been great. It's just been really a pleasure for me to catch up with you and learn a little bit, because I just really didn't know a lot about you. So I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I had a good time, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad. It's funny. It's like a virtual fist bump to you,
Yeah, for sure.
Going back out there on the track of life, if you will.
Yeah, it works for me. Hey, I always give people a chance at the end, and you can promote yourself, your business. Fishing. I don't know, anything. If you want people to find you, I usually say, if you want people to find you, maybe you don't want to be found. But I give people the opportunity to do that before we go off here.
I appreciate it. No, I don't. I'm a very, it's funny. I know a lot of people know, whoever is on the one lap, they all know I'm a character and a jokester, but on the private side, I'm just very quiet. I'm laid back. That's kind of it. My friends know me. I joke with my friends like you, we're sharing a laugh and stuff earlier. So, I'm just very reserved when I need to be and funny when I need to be, and kind of thing. And that's it. There's nothing to promote, man. That's for sure.
Yeah. Same here. Yep. All right. It's been good, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dan the Road Trip Guy, and we look forward to having you back again next time. In the meantime, if you want to find me, you can find me on the internet at Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, Neal, Neal.com. Until we meet up again, keep having conversations and keep driving.